So in episode 4, Defending Jacob, we see Andy is willing to do whatever it takes to protect his son. We see Jacob and Sarah hanging out more. Laurie is starting to doubt her son's innocence. And we learn more about Bloody Billy Barber. We're going to talk about that and much more. Episode 4 of Defending Jacob was titled Damage Control. Andy takes matters into his own hands. Laurie re-examines the life she knew. Hey, what's going on, everybody, and welcome back to Movie Files. Elliot here today to talk about episode 4 of Defending Jacob, a series that I am really enjoying so far, and I'm very excited to talk about it in this spoiler discussion, breakdown, review, just having a good time talking about this show, so I'm very excited to be here today. But before we dive into it, guys, as you can see on the screen now, make sure you're following me on all my other social media accounts. If you're new to this channel, definitely subscribe. Hit that bell so you don't miss any of my new content. Make sure you give this video a thumbs up. Really helps out the channel, but I also really appreciate it. And if and when you've seen this latest episode of Defending Jacob, let me know you guys' thoughts, theories. We're going to have a fun discussion in this video, so I'm very excited to break it all down, but let me know your thoughts in the comments below. So again, guys, as I did last week, I mentioned that the first 3 episodes, I didn't want to spoil anything, so that was a spoiler-free review. But now, moving forward, every other review will be a spoiler discussion. So if you haven't seen the episode yet, do me a favor, go ahead and go to my videos and just play them all and then watch the episode and then come back and then join this discussion. But if you've seen episode 4 of Defending Jacob, you're in the right place. So again, this is a spoiler field discussion, review, breakdown. Again, as I had mentioned last week, if you've read the book, please don't spoil the book. We want to be as a surprise as you were when you read it. But this will be a spoiler just focusing on this individual episode and, of course, the season so far. So spoiler warning. So we're going to jump right into it, guys. Again, as I do with a lot of these spoiler reviews, I'm going to break down the episode, recap it, and talk about some of the pivotal moments. In the first 3 episodes, if you guys watched my review last week, I'm very excited about this show. The acting has been phenomenal. Chris Evans has been great. I'm loving the story elements so far. You know, they set the stage with episode 1 with, you know, the cliffhanger with the knife being found. We see episode 2, we learn more about Leonard. You know, episode 3, we get the little cliffhanger with Sarah calling Duffy, which we'll talk about here in a bit. So I'm just really invested in the story, and I love kind of the different point of views that we've gotten so far. We've gotten a little bit of Jacob's perspective in regards to what's going on, but mostly the show has been focusing on the parents, in particular Andy's character. So I'm just really loving this the story so far. So with episode 4, Damage Control, you know, it starts off with, you know, we see Jacob talking to his lawyer with his parents there, and we see that the lawyer's giving him a little bit of a taste of what's to come in regards to if he goes on trial and how these questions will be posed to him, how you can twist things, how you can turn things, how you can take an answer and turn it into a question, and vice versa. So we see basically throughout this scene here, Andy is being kind of interrogated, right? Which I think is perfect preparation for what he's going to go through. But, you know, we see him describing the morning that he found Ben, and we kind of see it in a sense of, and I would love to get you guys' thoughts on this, how they portrayed that scene. Did you take that as Jacob reevaluating or re-examining or try to remember what happened? Or did you take that as the creators just kind of showing us a picture from the page, right? They're just kind of saying, just describing different, you know, how the situation went out, because as his lawyer is telling him, oh, were you standing up? Were you on your knees? You know, and he's trying to, you know, he's very confused at this point, and it makes sense. And they've even said so much in that, they said that much within that actual scene that it is obviously kind of hard to recollect everything that happened, especially with everything going on. It's a stressful time, but I really want to kind of get you guys' thoughts on those different variations of what we saw. Was that Jacob trying to remember what happened, or was that just a matter of the creative kind of thing on the show where they're just showing us kind of the what exactly happened after these questions are being asked? We find out things from, you know, clothes were wet, were they not wet? Was he standing? Was he not standing? Were you in a good mood after that happened? Were you in a bad mood? And I just want to ask you guys straight up top, did you guys believe him in regards to what's going on so far? And we'll talk about the theories and the thoughts. Again, no spoilers for the book readers, but in regards to what are you guys thinking right now? What are you on the side that it could be a possibility that Jacob did do this murder? Or is he just confused? He's a 14-year-old kid. There's a lot going on. He just doesn't know what answers to answer right. You know, what questions should be answered. I just want to know what you guys are thinking right now in this very moment in regards to 4 episodes in, Do you believe Jacob? Do you not believe Jacob? So let me know your thoughts in the comments. So, as I'm just watching this scene kind of play out, guys, it's just, I try not to live my life in fear because I think that kind of holds you back and you really can enjoy the fun and the great moments you have in life. But if I were to have things that would be pretty scary to be involved with, and this is one of the situations, being accused of murder for something, or being accused of something, in particularly murder, and you didn't do it. That has to be such a fearful thing and just so scary when you just can't speak the truth. And whenever you speak the truth, it comes out emotional because you didn't do it. I mean, we've all had that moment, right? Where it's just like someone's accusing you of, eating the last cookie, or, coming late to work and you weren't late, like things like that. It's like, no, I was here. I didn't eat that cookie. And you're just so passionate. So can you just imagine being in that position? It's just, and that's why I love this show. And I love shows that kind of dive into that. And again, we haven't really dove into Jacob's psychological mindset per se to see exactly where he's at, because a lot of the show has been so focused on the parents, which I've enjoyed so far. But it's just so fascinating to me to be in that position. What's going through your mind? Your whole life is kind of shut down at that moment, and moving forward, guilty or not guilty, your life will be forever changed. So I really love that aspect about what the show is presenting so far. So as we move on, we spend more time with the parents, and particularly Laurie, right? So we didn't really spend that much time with Laurie in the first 3 episodes. We see her at work. We see her kind of interacting with her friends here and there, but we really haven't spent a full scene or a couple scenes with Laurie individually, and we really get that in this episode. We see Laurie at the dinner table where she kind of has a breakdown, right? She's had little breakdowns throughout the first 3 episodes, but this is the first time she's really kind of broken down in front of Jacob. Jacob kind of calls out the situation as it is, where they're trying to, as he puts it, they're pretending to be normal, right? They're eating dinner with each other every night and things of that nature. And Laurie just says, what do you want us to do, Jacob? None of us has ever been in this situation, but I will do whatever you need me to do to make you feel as comfortable as possible. And again, I think that's a really pivotal moment because, again, this is uncharted territory for this family. Yeah, Andy has dealt with, cases like this, but it hasn't hit home. So this is a whole new set of situations with them. But within this moment, we see that Laurie has requested, or she was able to find out a little bit more about Andy's father, which we'll talk about here in a bit in regards to Bloody Billy. She sees the documents, the papers, and everything that went down in regards to what happened to that young lady that Andy's dad killed. And we find out that he actually not only stabbed her, but he raped her. So I'm very fascinated and we'll talk about that last scene, but I'm very fascinated to kind of discover where he's at mentally and what he went through and why he did the thing that he did. But we see that she kind of did that behind Andy's back, which again was very fascinating because if you all recall last week's episode, it was Laurie that said, no more lies, no more of this, everything that we know now, we need to tell each other. And she was the one that said that because obviously Andy didn't tell her about her dad. Obviously Jacob didn't tell them about what he found the morning of, the victim's death. So it was interesting that Laurie is now doing things behind her family's back. Very interesting. And I think this is just the building blocks of this family starting to grow further and further apart. So we see that moment there. We get a scene with a younger Bloody Billy where we see, we've gotten these flashbacks so far with Andy. And these flashbacks haven't been more than, 5 or 7 seconds or so. But now we get to see somewhat of a fuller scene how fearful he was of his dad and how his dad was very intimidating, right? With the teeth and the tattoo and grabbing him. Very intense scene. And I cannot wait to see J.K. Simmons next week appearing as the older version and maybe more wiser or maybe even more sinister version of Bloody Billy. So we get that moment there, and the first time we really get to see his dad in kind of a fuller scene, and the younger version of him kind of blurred out, but we kind of get the gist of the idea. Within this next few scenes, a really big moment, we see Laurie for the first time say it out loud. We saw this a little bit in episode 2 or 3 when she was running and she thought about the time when Jacob was going to hit that kid with that bowling ball, which was crazy, but we haven't heard her say it out loud. So she's in the bed with Andy and she flat out says it. Is there a tiny bit of you that feels like Jacob did it? Now, this is a very big moment, guys, because I didn't want to say it in my non-spoiler review last week, but I think, and let me know your thoughts, is this just the beginning of their relationship going away and maybe even in a divorce, a separation? I think these are just little hints because obviously we saw in last week's episode Andy saw Jacob as a normal kid growing up, and all the things that he did, from biting little kids to pushing kids off of structures, was just kind of him growing up. But the mom was just like, that's not normal. There's some violent tendencies in our child, and they took them to the doctor and all that stuff. So I think there's going to be more and more of these type of scenes where we see this rift and these questions being asked by Laurie. Did our son do it? So I think that's a really big scene and really kind of determines what's going to move forward, what's going to happen with the relationship kind of moving forward. And we'll talk about those flash forward scenes too Are they still together during those times? Are they separated? We'll talk about that here in a bit. But I thought that was a really, really pivotal moment, just kind of showing you that the family's starting to crumble. We see Andy visits this kid named Matt, who was the kid that was groped by Leonard. And, we kind of see that scene play out. And, this is, again, going back to Andy taking measures into his own hands. I don't think this is necessarily legal, or it might not necessarily be illegal, but I don't think those are the best practices, the way he's handling this situation, going to that kid's house and approaching him the way he did. But we see in that scene that there is definitely something that kid Matt is holding back in regards to him and what happened with Leonard. As Andy calls out, you being in the library is questionable. You saying that, he went to the bathroom and he was willing to risk, going back to jail. This doesn't add up. So within that moment, this is me just theorizing. I would love to know you guys' thoughts. Leonard and Matt, did they have a relationship maybe that was a little bit more intimate than what Matt, presented to the police in his police report? And this is just a theory of mine, and I'm just, obviously making an assumption or just making a theory. Could it be the situation played out where Matt was maybe, Leonard broke up with Matt if they had a relationship and he was more interested in the kid that passed away, and maybe Matt was the one that killed him due to jealousy. I don't know. That's just me kind of thinking. Again, I would love to know what you guys thought about that scene. What is the relationship that you guys think happened between Matt and Leonard? What do you guys think will happen moving forward? But that is definitely an interesting moment there with Matt, and I'm very curious to see if he appears in the next couple episodes regarding that relationship between him and Leonard. But I thought that was really, really important moment and something to keep an eye out for. So we see Sarah. She visits Jacob. They're playing video games, and I'm thinking to myself, like, wow, this is Sarah's parents are letting her go and hang out with this kid that's accused of murder. I thought that was really fascinating. But Sarah tells Jacob that she thinks that Derek may have did it. And this is kind of, I don't know, this is something that's building up, right? Maybe, again, going back to Leonard. Did Leonard and Derek have something and again, some jealousy going on? I don't know. Let me know you guys' thoughts. But if we go back to Derek, guys, you remember in episode 2 or episode 1, I can't remember which episode it was, but when we saw Andy and Duffy interviewing those kids and they interviewed Sarah and she went back to her class, we saw Derek was the one that was kind of like, what did you tell them? Kind of very intimidating type of demeanor and very scared. And we've seen these little hints of Derek, right? Even within this episode, Derek being called out to the principal's office, which goes back to episode 3, where we saw Sarah calling Duffy. We don't know exactly what the conversation was in that room, but I'm sure that we will in the future episodes. But Derek's someone to keep an eye out for. And again, very big moment because Sarah is accusing Derek that he may have been the one that did it. And that's very fascinating. And let me know you guys' thoughts on Derek, on Sarah, their relationship. We obviously find out from Jacob that Derek is obsessed with Sarah. So how will Derek handle finding out that Jacob and Sarah have been hanging out? Let me know you guys' thoughts in the comments below about this Derek situation. So we see Laurie kind of, again, going back to Laurie having more her time, right? Her own alone time, kind of clearing her head. We see that she goes to her old job. They're having like a banquet and she's kind of missing those moments and kind of re-examining her past and seeing her friends kind of hanging out. But she has a bit of a breakdown again. She goes to the diner. She befriends someone who she thought was being genuinely honest and interested in her situation and just kind of venting to her. But unfortunately, we find out that woman was a writer for the Globe and maybe had followed her there and kind of pretended to be her friend. But it's just in this moment too, I'm just thinking to myself, like, guys, I know you've never been in this situation. I can't speak on the situation because I've never been in that situation. But it's just kind of frustrating when you see Laurie talking to a stranger about a situation and telling her, hey, I'm the mother of the kid that did this. We see Jacob, social media. We see him on the video games. He's like, guys, can we just put this social stuff on a hold for the foreseeable future? I know it's hard. Obviously, we all have the human nature is to kind of define things that we are told not to do and we end up doing it. But I just wish that they would just kind of sit down and just stay in the house maybe and go as a family, but not individually. But again, I know that Laurie has to have her kind of her alone time, but I just wish, obviously that moment was a vulnerable moment for her and that woman took advantage of her. But again, it was a big moment for Laurie because again, now we're learning a little bit about Laurie. We're spending more time with Laurie individually rather than, her with the family. We're seeing where she's at mentally. So really big moment for Laurie. Unfortunate moment, but a big moment. And then also, I thought this is a fun fact. This has nothing to do with the review recap at all. But as I mentioned last week, I'm a big Chris Evans fan. He's my favorite Avenger in the MCU as Captain America. And I love that he kind of snuck in that line, right? When they're in the bed, he says, well, do whatever it takes, right? Whatever it takes. And that just reminded me of Endgame. Obviously, that was part of the marketing in a pivotal moment within the moment in the movie. I just want to kind of bring that up for my MCU fans out there. But anyway, The question being brought up again during these flash forward scenes, which are 10 months prior. So that's the current timeline, and we're obviously seeing the story play out, kind of in a flashback in the past. And I like how the show's handling that so far, because when shows do that, normally to me it's always like we got to cut back and forth as far as like everything that's said within the current timeline has to go back to the past. But I like how they're just throwing in 2 or 3 scenes within the future to kind of go back into the past. But the questions asked to Andy about him growing up, with the fear of him growing up to be like his dad, but more importantly, his son growing up to be like his dad. I thought that was a really big scene. And again, within these flash forward future scenes, again, looking at Andy's demeanor, he's obviously sad. He's broken down. His eyes are kind of sunk in. Again, this goes back to me going back to, where's his family at? Where's Jacob? Is he in jail? Did something more dark and sad happen to Jacob in regards to maybe he's dead? Did something happen to Laurie? Are they separated? Are they divorced? There's so many questions I have about the future timeline. It's really interesting to go back and forth. Obviously, the past is where all the story is, and we see how things play out. But I'm really interested to know, when will we catch up to that future? Will it be a season finale where we find out what exactly happened within that 10-month period, or will it be earlier in the season and the rest of the season is kind of the future moving forward? So very big scene there. We see again them, they test Jacob to see if he has the murder gene, and that's where we get the moment where we see Andy's being told by the psychologist that they went to go to his dad to get a swap, for the murder gene, and he wouldn't allow them to do that unless Andy did it himself. So obviously Andy didn't want to do that. And then Laurie says, we're going to do whatever it takes. So you're going to go do that. So next week will be very interesting. We're going to see J.K. Simmons. We're going to learn maybe more about Bloody Billy. And we're going to see, this is the first time Andy's seen his dad since he was 6 years old. So this will be a great episode in my opinion. I'm a big J.K. Simmons fan. I'm really excited to see him in the mix and see how all that plays out. So wrapping up that recap, review, breakdown, guys, questions I have for you all, questions I have about the show so far. In regards to, kind of cons, again, I want to get more into Jacob's head. I want to know what he's thinking more. If there were any criticism there, I would love to get a little bit more of that. But besides that, guys, I am just locked into the show. I'm all in. I can't wait for episode 5. I think the first 4 episodes have been really great television. I'm really hooked on this show. This is probably one of my favorite shows so far on Apple TV+, and I hope this momentum continues to go throughout the season. So not a lot of criticisms, just a couple minor things, but I'm really loving this show, guys. So let me know where you guys are at personally 4 episodes in. But as far as questions I have, what will the conversation be like between Andy and his dad, Bloody Billy? Will it be he's a different man? He's more, mindful of what he did in the past, why he did that, raping that young woman and murdering her. I can't wait to see how that conversation plays out. And will Andy get any answers that he's looking for? Will he be able to get this off his chest and maybe move forward with everything that's going on with his son and his trial? Sarah and Jacob's new relationship, will that make Derek jealous? Will Derek make more allegations about Jacob if he finds out that they hung out? And is Derek a suspect? Let me know you guys' thoughts on Derek in the comments below. The relationship is starting to crumble between Andy and Laurie. Is those signs for a divorce, a separation between the two? Because like I said in this review, they're starting to kind of go on different paths, and they're starting to look at their son differently. Laurie is starting to have those inklings that her son might not be innocent, and obviously Andy's the complete opposite. So let me know you guys' thoughts below. Again, Leonard and Matthew, what's that relationship? Is there some type of jealousy going on there? Is there more to the story than what Matt told the police? And then again, I'm just excited to see where we go in regards to the future. Where's Jacob in the future? Where's Laurie? Where's their relationship? Where's their family? And more importantly, what's the verdict of his case as far as the status? So I'm all in for this show, guys. Defending Jacob has been one of my favorite shows so far on television. I'm all into the show. I'm loving these conversations. I'm loving these, videos that I'm making so far for the show. But again, I make these videos for you all. So again, comment below with all your theories, your thoughts, your concerns, your likes, your dislikes, all that fun stuff in the comments below. As always, like, share, comment, subscribe, hit that bell so you don't miss any of my new content. Today's Friday, so I will be watching some new Netflix movies and probably dropping reviews for those Saturday and Sunday. I do have a watch along tonight, 7 p.m. Central Time, from John Wick Chapter 2 with a special guest, Guy at the Movie. So definitely tune in tonight to watch John Wick Chapter 2 with me and my special guest. Again, a lot of content dropping this weekend. Very excited to bring that to you guys. I can't thank you all enough for the continued support. We're on the road to 3,000, continue to have this channel grow, and I can't thank you guys enough. So again, thank you for watching this review, and we'll see you soon.